Welcome back to the Square. I am your host, Curtis the Fifth.
And I am Curtis the Fourth.
All right, and today we are going to finally update our power rankings here and talk about the top 10 of our power rankings just before this preseason gets underway. Now, Hall of Fame game is this Thursday. Today is August 3rd, so on the 5th, 7 p.m. Definitely tune in. Cowboys versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. We'll get our first taste of football for how long has it been? 7 months?
7 is just too long.
Yeah. So we got it's definitely going to be exciting for that this upcoming this week. But we're going to dive into the top 10 of our mutual or our separate power rankings here. We're going to have a little bit of a discussion here. But if you want to see the full power rankings for both Curtis 4 and Curtis 5 here, you can definitely go check out our Twitter. It is at _square pod. See the full rankings and have a full discussion about that down below. So if you don't hear about your team in this episode, it's because they're really not in playoff contention. No, just kidding. No, we're just doing the top 10 here of our list. So, do you want to start 10 down or one down?
We can go 10 down.
10. All right. Starting at 10. Well, who do you got?
Number 10, I have the Seattle Seahawks.
I have their divisional counterparts in the San Francisco 49ers at 10. Moving them up 2 spots from where I had them when training camp got underway. So making a little bit of a change there. Nothing too big. But Seattle, I only have Seattle one spot above them.
Okay. Which, you pretty much got a consensus on.
For sure.
Which is kind of interesting about Seattle. I'm not super high. Well, at least definitely not from the offensive side of the ball. But at the same time, I wasn't all that overly impressed with them defensively last year. They were okay.
Mm-hmm.
So coming back this year, it's kind of like, man, why are they so high? But yet, it's
Russell Wilson.
Exactly. I think, and that's the only thing I could come up with. It's the Russell Wilson effect, because when it was all said and done, I'm like, how the hell were they 12-4 last year? They did not seem like they were 12 and seemed like they were like an 8-8 team, but they wasn't.
I probably will be dropping Seattle once we get underway, because I do see I'm sensing that there's going to be some instability here with this team, and probably some infighting, especially when basically, to me, what I think is going to happen with Seattle this year when kind of the plot thickens, if you will, or the rubber meets the road, whatever cliche term you want to use. When it gets tough this season, I do believe we're going to see we're going to see some infighting between the ideology of we can run the ball, we've got a good enough team to run the ball from Pete Carroll, and let's just let Russ cook type mentality. And those two camps are going to go head to head at it with Seattle. And so I do suspect that the beginning of the season is not going to be that hard for them. They're going to be just fine. When you get to the middle part of the season, probably that October, November months, when they hit a wall of just a couple of bad games back to back, there's going to be something snippy said in a press conference and something leaked out to the media. At this point, some tabloid's going to say something, and then by the end of the year, I think we're going to have 3 major quarterbacks on the market next year, being Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson to me, and Matt Ryan. I think are all going to be guys moving next year. Potentially. And I think it starts with the kind of, obviously, Aaron Rodgers' whole situation. He's made it so that he's got an out next year. Russell Wilson's already stated that he doesn't like what's happening, and I don't see that Seattle did enough to change that, but they do still have him this year, so I do think that they're going to, not that they're going to be like world beaters, but they are going to be a good team to begin with, but chemistry-wise, I just don't know if it's going to come together fully for them.
Yeah. And that's I have kind of my suspicions with them. It's just that they, we got into that crazy, Russell Wilson sweepstakes last in the off season. now all of a sudden, it's everybody's come together. We singing "Kumbaya." This is the greatest coach ever. This is the greatest player ever.
I don't buy it.
I don't either, but this is the game they're playing. So they're gonna move on, and it's like, and Seattle's gonna go back to just being, they go tough smash mouth, football. You're gonna, at any given week, you're gonna have a tough game, whether you beat them or you don't. It's gonna be a rough one, and I see the trending down thing, because what do they really have in the run game? And it's Chris Carson, one good hit away from being out for another 7 weeks, and
same thing with DJ Dallas.
Which asks the question: then what do you have as a run game if he's out? And then are they gonna let Russ cook, or are they not gonna let? And Russ is just gonna try to cook, even though he's not allowed in the kitchen. Like whatever they're doing over there in Seattle, the little kooky stuff that they've been doing, man. It's just. I guess, like, again, right now, just equity and all, I got him at 10, but I already got a trending down arrow next.
I'm ready to move them down once.
They'll be the first to be moved if anyone needs to be moved. And I'm not really making these takes. It's just kind of like I know where I'm at with these people, but it's just. It's just like, I can see that, but at the same time, if Russ starts really cooking, but that's a whole nother speculation. And they really started. And
which is why I think that team is potentially going to make the playoffs this year.
Right.
But it's all of my upside for Seattle comes from Russell Wilson. Okay. Nothing else. Defensively, yes, they did make some strides there last season when they ended up going to get Jamal Adams. Mm-hmm. But outside of that, like they do still have work to do. I know, who is it? KJ Wright they lost. He's still not signed over there.
Yep.
So like, you got a lot of moving parts right now. So I'm just looking at Seattle like, okay, we're gonna let you sing Kumbaya for now, but the second things hit the fan, I definitely know there's gonna be some infighting this year, and there's gonna be talk. The media's gonna say something. Mm-hmm. That's gonna be one of the biggest storylines to catch, and we'll get into that in a couple of weeks here when we do our divisional preview of the NFC West.
Okay.
But. That's just one thought I did have about them. I think they're going to be good. I just think it's going to be tumultuous.
Gotcha.
Now, number 9, like I said, I already have Seattle there. I guess I didn't talk about San Francisco. San Francisco wise, I think that they're a good team. I think they've got a lot of good parts. They've got some holes, but I do think within this division they're going to be competitive. They're going to be right behind Seattle. I actually think, kind of a little bit of a sneak peek, I do think that they're tied with Seattle. I have them tied record-wise with Seattle. So, but I think Seattle's coming down. San Francisco's going up type of situation. So kind of the same thing we talked about last week with New Orleans and Carolina. So it's just kind of one of those situations really right now where I think San Francisco has a lot of upside and they've got a pretty good situation. Jimmy Garoppolo is there. He's saying, hey, I'm still the guy. I'm still doing everything that I can to help this team win this year, whether it's trying to be there for Trey Lance or just going out there and spinning the ball around with my teammates, because I am the number one guy as it stands right now. Mm-hmm. I'm just gonna go out and play, and I'm gonna do my thing, and I'm gonna help him get as good as he possibly can before we eventually will have to move on, which is the best kind of situation you could definitely be in when you do have a young quarterback like that.
Right.
So props to them. They're managing that situation in a way where Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't feel like he's on borrowed time or anything like that. Mm-hmm. Plus, they have some upside on the defense as well. So I think with them getting all of their injured guys back mm-hmm. and their COVID holdouts back, they're going to be in a good situation this upcoming season. Plus, they actually get to go and play home finally, because they were playing in Arizona for the second half of the season. So just across the board, they had a lot of stuff, like what could go wrong did go wrong for them last year. This year, I think that they're going to be in a real nice spot. So that's where I have San Francisco. Number 10, number 9. Where are you at?
Number 9 is Indianapolis.
Okay.
Now that's trending down from, I had them at 7 at one point, but now they're at 9. However, this was post any reports that we got in the last few days. Okay. So I do have them trending down, but right now I do have them at 9.
I wrote mine after the Carson Wentz and Quentin Nelson news came out. I dropped them hard. I dropped them 7 spots. They're even out of my top 10. So
Wow.
yeah, but I mean, they do have an opportunity of getting back into it, obviously, once he gets back on the field. But
what number you got him at?
I've got Indy all the way down to 14.
14.
Yeah. Just based off of the injuries right now. When you don't have a quarterback
Right.
Of even Carson Wentz's caliber, whether, again, we don't even know what that is at this moment.
Right.
But I do like, and I talked about this last week. I mentioned it in the last podcast. He is going to be back this season, so I'm holding out hope that this team can still make a good push for the playoffs, depending on what week he comes back.
Right.
But they do have an uphill battle to climb here, so I reflected that in my power rankings. Number 9 for me is Seattle. We already had a discussion on that, so we can move on to number 8.
Number 8, I got the LA Rams.
Same here. This team, I did move them down a couple of spots from where I had them. I had them all the way up to 6 at one point during this offseason. But I moved them down to 8 here. I just think that they're moving in the right direction, but they do have some chemistry stuff to figure out. So whether Matthew Stafford can settle into his role really nicely. Plus, they lost Cam Akers, so that takes a hit to your run game. But I am excited to see still what this offense is going to be able to do. And this team as a whole, in all honesty.
Yeah, I concur. This team's ready to go. I mean, minus the Cam Akers thing, like you were saying. I think they're already working on. I guess the only benefit to this happening is that it happened early. But beyond that, they got enough weapons. I think this team is still making monumental pushes for the championship this year. I know they was already going to run running back by committee anyway, so I don't think this is a super major blow. However, they do just got a little extra work to do to address the run game. But I think this team is ready to go.
Quick question.
But yeah,
should they bring back Todd Gurley?
I heard a report come out like that, and I think I didn't answer the question then. But at this point, could it hurt? Possibly.
Really?
Now hear me out. Could it not hurt? Possibly. It's kind of like I think I don't even want to say you down if you do, you down if you don't. You do it, you don't, you don't. Kind of thing. I don't think his coming over there would hurt. I'll leave it at that. Like, at this point, you're gonna need as many bodies as you can, and like even in this situation, you're not even asking Todd Gurley to. You don't need 18 carries out of him. If you just want, I need him. For maybe 8. Hey, if you're something from the 30 on in, or 25 on in to the end zone, you never know. You might get you a new goal line back. Possibly. But that remains to be seen. I think it would go a long way at this point after you lost Cam Akers. Yeah. Why not?
Yeah, I think if you just Darrell Henderson and Todd Gurley, just throwbacks to 2018, like
right. And I'm like, let's do this. And it's like, okay, because I think the run game is going to be used as a tool to this year. The play action is definitely going to be wide open, and I think I believe you as well. Most people that's watching LA, man, they about to air this thing out.
This is going to be a fun season for any right. Rams fan. You're going to be happy to see what's coming out of this team.
Right, and I'm very excited to see how they utilize tight ends, how they utilize their running backs, and I mean not the run. I mean the running backs like in a passing game. So. I'm just like, man, I'm ready to see this. So, and I'm like, does this defense come back in there punching teams in the face, and, punch them in the mouth and then just, taking W's and going home? I'm like, is that team? I don't know, but are they going to be the new book? This is what I mean by Tampa Bay. Y'all got something to worry, this is where the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have to worry about teams like a Rams, like, man, it's this guy in the undercard that's just waiting in the wings, and the Rams could be that team. So I still got them ranked at 8. That's my initial ranking that I had from day one.
Gotcha.
So they never moved. So with the Cam Akers thing, I think I was like, okay, we'll just hold.
Yeah.
Just sit right here.
I had him a little bit higher because I think I was also higher on Cam Akers than you were coming into the season. But
Yeah.
with him going down, I dropped him down to 8 where you got him at now. So we'll see. And I don't. And if you're right, and Cam Akers isn't that big of a kind of a loss to their offense, then I think that they regardless of Cam Akers being there or not, I do think they're going to be a real big threat in the NFC, and they've got a real good shot to me to try to take this NFC throne.
Okay.
So and we'll get it. Like I said, we'll get into the whole NFC West in a bit, and the entire bottom of this top 10. The only reason why these guys are that low is because they're all going to be playing each other. Right. And so they're going to be knocking each other off, and it's going to be a dogfight for those teams down there. So got them agreed there at 8. 7, I know we don't both agree here. I'm where are you at with 7? Who you got there?
I got a new 7. This is where Indianapolis dropped out of 7.
Yeah.
So I have Tennessee.
Okay, I have Tennessee one spot above at 6, and I actually have Green Bay at 7.
Ah, Green Bay.
Yeah.
Say more.
I don't. Green Bay is a team trending down to me. Even though there was already a kind of a bashing of heads with Green Bay even last year, this year it's come to a huge head. I mean, we almost didn't have Aaron Rodgers on this roster. He was about to be shipped out. And if he got shipped out, Devontae Adams said, "I'm not playing here if I don't have Aaron." Like, there was just a huge influx of just, okay, this is about to get completely blown up, which is definitely the case. I think going after this season is over, we're not going to see this team as we know it. And I think Aaron Rodgers is going to be gone. I think Devontae Adams is going to be gone. I think, obviously Randall Cobb is going to be gone. I think a lot of the guys on this roster are going to want out after this season. Now what Green Bay gets back from that remains to be seen. But going into this season with the chemistry issues, not from the players, but just from the players to the organization, that's going to be a big loss for Green Bay. There's no like, oh, it's hunky dory, we're just going to do our job and play our role. No, Aaron Rodgers has already come out and he's making it real uncomfortable for the organization, calling them out, saying things that they don't want him to say. Right. He doesn't care anymore, and he is going to play, and I think he's going to play fantastic. And that's the reason why I have them winning the NFC or the NFC North. But I do think Green Bay is a team where you need everything in the organization to go right to win games in the NFL. So there's going to be some close games that they should win that they're not going to, just because not everybody's on the same page. The organization is telling the head coach to do one thing, and they want to do a different thing. But no, we got to look for the future and this, that, the other. I think there's going to be a lot of infighting this season, and at the end of the day, it's going to result in just a dismantling of this team as we know it. And depending on what they get back, like I said, Green Bay might not be long for NFC North supremacy. But I do think this is going to be. I do think with Aaron Rodgers and the talent that they do have, even though defensively I think that they're lacking a bit, they are going to be a very good team. They're going to be a force to be reckoned with in the NFC as it stands right now. But they are a team that's, hey, if there's any team that's going to fall after this season, it's Green Bay to me.
Got it. Well, I mean, I'm not as low as 7. I mean, I got them still. I mean, I have them at 5.
Yeah.
But I can see where you're coming from. But right now, I don't have them trending up nor down. I just got them at a hold. I have to see a little bit more just to see exactly what are they going to do. What is Aaron Rodgers' intentions? I hear everything you're saying, because up until this point, and minus an interview and a press conference, I mean, we haven't gotten much of anything. Everything has been speculatory, and it's like I need to get to see this guy on the field at this point. Like,
that's what I'm saying. I don't think he's going to be bad on the field. I think he's going to be great. I think he's going to be MVP Aaron Rodgers. I'm not suspecting Green Bay to play bad football. What I'm expecting is just a chemistry issue or a communication issue when it comes to higher up management and the players, and Green Bay is going to fumble it. They've already. I don't have any faith that Green Bay is going to handle this situation correctly. That's it. The organization rather. And I know that doesn't. I know once the season comes, we're all saying it's all about the head coach, and he's going to be calling the shots, and the organization will do their thing on the business side of stuff. But that's exactly it. They're going to try to dip their toe into the football side because that is their business, and they've got to make a play at this or whatever it may be. I don't know exactly what the what the crux is going to be, but there's going to be something that causes Aaron Rodgers to have to say something and some sort of infighting, and there's going to be a lot of I think just, and the media is just going to be asking the question like, Aaron Rodgers, what are you going to do next year with this new contract and this new setup that you got here? What's your plan? Are you looking to come back, this, that, the other? And it's going to be distracting all season long is what is he going to do next? And he's going to do his whole RELAX type press conference, like we're going to do our thing and let's focus on football, those types of situations. But at the end of the day, I think there's going to be a lot of guys in the locker room once the media starts getting at them and asking them questions. And if they do run into any adversity, the media is just going to keep asking. It doesn't matter who it is. Just what's your plan? What do you think Aaron Rodgers is going to do? Or asking Aaron Rodgers specifically, what do you think you're going to do? What's the next step? What's going to happen? And whatnot. So at the end of the day, it's going to be a nasty little situation to me. And I don't know if Aaron Rodgers and this team has enough talent to overcome the dysfunctional team that this is going to be.
Well, that remains to be seen, but I mean, starting this week, I mean, like I said, we got, I think, what they wrapping up training camps or they're done now?
No, I mean, training camp goes all the way through the Hall of Fame game. So they're still doing training camp, and then
okay, I wasn't sure where it ended.
Then basically it turns into regular practice next week.
Okay,
so starting Monday.
We're winding up in that final week. So this is.
I mean, we got the Hall of Fame game this week. Like, football's here.
I'm getting it. Why you killing my stealing my thunder? But yes, and we of course accompanied by a preseason, our very first preseason game 2 days from now.
Yeah,
So I'm just it's just one of these things. Like for Green Bay, I have to see more stuff on the field at this point. I'm done listening to what's going on behind the mics because they done when it comes to Green Bay, it's been nothing but talk. That's all they have been doing. It's just been speculatory conversation, and I'm just look, either give me hard facts about the Packers or just leave me out of it. But for right now, 5, but keep an eye on this team. So 7, I ain't gonna eat your lunch about that. I can see that, because I mean, hell, I hope they trending down. I'm gonna be honest. So,
well, let's talk Tennessee because you got them at 7, correct? I got them at 6. So let's talk about them. I
mean, man, what it was. I mean, this it was just this sneaky playoff bound team that has just been kind of in the shadows for the last couple of years.
Getting 1% better every offseason.
But trending backwards, kind of where they fall into, like where they end up from the playoff standpoint. But they take on the juggernauts. So they have been the kid that's either just saying they just out there picking fights, but you might win one fight but lose 2 other ones. In the process, but you earned your respect, and now Julio Jones goes over there. You bring it back to the whole Derrick Henry thing. You hand it over, the keys to AJ Brown to be the number 1. You bring in an alpha number 1, so you really got 2 1As or 1A 1B, whatever you want to call it. You just got 2 number 1s, like and a few pieces in a very strategic, draft that they had, grabbed a lot of defensive players. They do have a solid defense. Ryan Tannehill has definitely made that turn in his career.
Yeah.
Bringing in some, they dropped, got rid of Jonnu Smith, who they was very big on, and now you got the, Mr. Firsker, which
Anthony Firsker.
It's just it's an interesting team, but man, I think they are one of these very sneaky teams this year that you just they're Washington of the AFC to me. They're like that anomaly team. I know, but they come with a lot more. It's just I'm saying that to the point of it's the team you do not want to face. That's the connection I'm making.
Gotcha.
Let me be very clear. So not the same type of team.
Yeah, they're not, definitely not. I mean, they've got pieces on both sides of the ball. I think this is a team that definitely going to be competing for the AFC title.
Mhm.
Kansas City doesn't want to see him. Buffalo doesn't want to see him. Baltimore, Cleveland, none of them want to see him. Just this team is, like you said, sneaky good. I mean, they got better. And then they made a splash this offseason. So, yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see. I'm hoping that this team is able to stay healthy. But the way that they play football with Mike Vrabel leading the charge here, that's the team you gotta watch out for because they are a threat.
Yes, and they're trending up. So it's one of those watch this. That's one of these key teams to watch.
Yeah.
Watch Tennessee because they. Now, yeah, as a Chiefs fan, that scares me. You know, I don't like them. I didn't like them without all the changes. Now it's like, oh man, just. It's like, yeah, there's a few teams in the league that I have that kind of sentiment against, but this is one of them.
Gotcha.
So,
all right, well then let's talk number 5 then, or no, you're number 6 rather.
I'm on number 6. Number 6, I got Cleveland.
You got Cleveland one above you. So let's talk about it. This team's good. Just across the board, this team's good.
Yes.
I'm excited to see what they're able to do. I know you got Green Bay in this spot, or no. I don't know who you have for 6, but Cleveland
at 6.
6.
You have
I have Tennessee at 6. Sorry, yeah. So me having them at 5. This team is just I like the pickup of Jadeveon Clowney. I like the way that this team is trending up. I like their defense. They definitely stirred up things there. They're getting back OBJ, and their Achilles heel is going to be if they can get OBJ to play in line. Like,
right.
Hey, you are just another cog in this wheel. Like, stop trying to be like you're not above the rest of this roster.
Right.
And if he can buy in, and if he can settle into that, this team is gonna be, I think, one of the teams that really gives Kansas City a run for their money. Because Kansas City Cleveland had a really good game against Kansas City, even with I know Patrick Mahomes went down in that game,
right.
But that defense is even better now. And so I think this team is going to be able to compete with them. They've got the stud running back duo, and they're a run first offense. They've got Baker Mayfield leading the charge and kind of running the ship there.
Yep.
You got the 2 dynamic wide receivers, Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham. They still need some help on the offensive line, but they did beef it up a little bit. They shored it up in some areas. And then defensively, like I said, you already had a good front 7. You added Jadeveon Clowney. Now, if he's gonna also, hey, you just play in your role. Stop trying to be the superstar. Just do your freaking job and go get at least. They're probably looking to get him 7 to 8 sacks this season. And as long as he's getting pressure on the QB, that's really what they're looking for. And stay freaking healthy. And then they try to address the defensive back as well. So, they just across the board, Cleveland got better. And I like that this team, they made the playoffs last year. They made a splash in the playoffs with a big win against Pittsburgh. And then they really put up a fight versus Kansas City in the second round. So this team is definitely on the upswing. Now it's just a matter of managing egos. And if they can get that figured out, this team is going to be just fine.
I agree. I agree with that. And we just talked about Tennessee. Now we're talking about Cleveland. It's like, man, just take a pick. Heads, tails. It's just like they both have made these monumental, improvements over the last couple seasons, and they're both kind of coming back. Well, Tennessee's coming back, but Cleveland's coming into their own finally. And it's relevant. And now you're seeing like both of these franchises are doing it simultaneously and at the same time. I know we've been talking about how, in past shows, or it's been stated the NFC is deep. Well, the AFC is deep as well. The
entire NFL is deep now.
It is. It's just kind of there's really like
league.
The good teams, and then there's like a handful of just. You ought to be shaming yourselves, but but
there's only a couple of those. There's only a couple.
This is a handful, but but beyond that, it's man. I guess this is what parity is supposed to look like in sports, where everyone has something to bring to the table. There's
Any
somebody
given
has
Sunday.
a puncher's chance.
Yeah.
You know, like, man, you may not be, you may can lose, but man, I swear, if I can land this on your temple just the right way in the right angle, I can drop you. We can run up out of here with a 1-2 point victory. Like we don't care. We just took the W and we'll just leave it at that.
A win is a win.
Exactly. So,
let's talk top 5. I know. We talked about Green Bay already, and your thoughts on them. Top 4.
Oh well, we have Final 4 here. So at number 4, I got Baltimore.
I think we have the same, and we flip flop 1 and 2. So
1 and 2 doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you that right now. It did. Coke, Pepsi, you pick either one. I'm not. It does. I don't think it's a wrong answer today.
Yeah.
There's coming a day. We're gonna stop. It's gonna be a consensus 1 and 2. But right
let's
now,
get back to 3 and 4. So
exactly.
I think Baltimore and Buffalo.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I got Baltimore at 4, Buffalo at 3. These two teams are still AFC again, just so stacked this year, and I'm pumped to see what they can do. Now, Baltimore, the reason why I have them lower than Buffalo because I think they have a little bit more work to do than Buffalo. They need to figure out what is the kind of pecking order when it comes to these receivers, and hey, are we playing run first, or are we letting Lamar Jackson explore his passing ability this year? Because at this point last year with that playoff run when they won a game, they did look very good, and Lamar Jackson looked like a QB. He came out there and he made some big plays last season, deep in very clutch plays last season. I might add, they had a lot of pressure on them last year to make up for that disappointing loss against Tennessee in the playoffs, and they came out, played a very good game, and beat Tennessee this year, and then also had a very tough fight against Buffalo and played a very defensive game. Really, that was. But Baltimore needs to kind of figure out the rest of their offense and how they're going to move forward with that. Buffalo, though, I think they were already in the AFC Championship game, and to me, outside of the running back, I know they did get better in the positions that they needed to get better, which is getting pressure on the QB.
It just almost comes down to because both of these teams,
they got Emmanuel Sanders, who I think that to me is a very, very underrated pickup this offseason.
Very high on Emmanuel Sanders
in his role, being behind Stephon Diggs.
I wouldn't. I can see where you're coming from. I'm not. I know I have a lot of. I'm kind of. I'm a little more open to this week, but it's like I can see where that point of view comes now. If it doesn't come into fruition, I can see how that happened too. It's just. I'm just like last year was just like, okay, I got to see if last year was an outlier. Yeah. That's what I'm waiting to see. I know we discussed this before, but that's just where I'm at with that. Like, I'm not super high. I'm just keeping it reserved. Like, I think you that guy, but let's see what you got.
Yeah.
And with this Cole Beasley thing going, I really don't have much to argue right now because everything is setting itself up for this guy to be successful. Just, I'm not saying that Cole Beasley should take away from him, but it's definitely going to open the targets up for him. It's going to go so well for this man in an extension of his career because I know he's getting it basically toward the end of his career.
Yeah.
Where man, you ball out this year, you might get that 1 year with an option, or maybe a 2 year with an option, or not that means anything, but you can just get all of your money front loaded, at the very beginning to get a nice little payoff.
Yeah,
and then we'll see what your 3rd-year option is looking like.
Yeah.
So, but what I was saying, what it almost comes down to, because these two teams are so complete, is really like, it's Buffalo's run game really versus Baltimore's pass game. Receivers, not so much the quarterback play, but who he's throwing to. Like, are these? Is Sammy Watkins really the answer?
Yeah, and Sammy Watkins, I do think Rashad Bateman was a big pickup for Baltimore for sure. But that's what I'm saying. Are they going to really try to make Sammy Watkins at number 1, or are they going to say, hey, we got this rookie here, Are we going to make him the focal point of this pass game and build off of and work around that?
Okay, and due to experience, is Hollywood Brown out of the race for number one?
For number one, for sure.
Okay, I was just making sure.
Yeah.
Okay. If that's the case, then hey.
I mean, even Baltimore put out a tweet the other day, and because they all changed numbers, so I don't know who it was, but it looked like it was Sammy Watkins who was making a snag, and they were like, "Oh, new connection, new number one here" in the tweet, and it was a Lamar Jackson to Sammy Watkins pass.
Sammy Watkins been trying to be the number one since he got drafted. So
yeah, I think it should be. I think to me, what I would do is really focus on Rashad Bateman and let Sammy Watkins come in and hopefully stay healthy, and he can play that number 2 role, and then. Hey, Hollywood Brown, break it wide open. Just be the deep threat. That's all you got to do. You don't have to try to be getting every single rep, every single catch, and I have to carry the receiving core, and I have to be the one with the most receptions, most yards, most touchdowns. Also, you're just not that dude, and there's nothing wrong with that. But just play your role, be the deep threat, rack up your yards and yards after catch, and go sit down somewhere because you're just not going to be able to stay. And what I think is going to be really testing for Baltimore this year is to see if their receiving core can stay healthy. As Rashad Bateman had some injury issues in Minnesota, Sammy Watkins has had injury issues all career long, and Hollywood Brown not as much, but he did have one injury. So I mean, and if they lose any of these guys, it's really a big blow to them. Like if they lose a receiver for any extended amount of time, it's going to be tough it's going to be an uphill battle for them.
Yeah, and now we got Lamar Jackson and Gus Edwards dealing with COVID as we speak. But so how is that going to be when he comes back? Is it going to take another few weeks to get, because we've seen what happened with Cam. And granted, COVID does not respond to everybody the same. And not that I'm going to talk about COVID, but I'm not. But, but it's just, is this a step back for, the Baltimore for even if it's just affecting them in the preseason, which ultimately is going to start to affect you in the regular season.
Yeah.
But, that remains to be seen. But with that, it was just where these holes would be in these guys, on these guys' respective teams, and they got some glaring holes in their offense. But
yeah,
at least from the offensive scheme aspect, not necessarily from a positional or a numbers game. But with that being said, this is your glorified almost your glorified constellation in the AFC. The Buffalo and Baltimore, they slug out for who wants to take on the champ, so it's man.
And then you got Cleveland and Tennessee riding the rear right there, and either one of them could also be in that fight.
Nice undercard, and they just oh my God, Cleveland and Tennessee, just they have really made the AFC like. You just get and when you say that, we looking at the falling Indianapolis, the falling Pittsburgh. It's just like, my goodness, they're deep. And that these teams.
I don't even think Indianapolis is falling. I just think they're taking a decent hit now, and they'll be on the uptrend. Once Carson Wentz is healthy. That's a better
way to say that. But we're talking about as of today, they're falling. That's all I'm saying. I know what they're not falling like a team that's going to slip.
They're not on a downtrend. They're just in a bad spot right now.
Yeah, they're gonna get knocked down a peg or two here and there until this thing corrects itself. But yeah, they where you have it 3 and 4. I mean, right now Buffalo definitely a step above Baltimore, but not by much. But if there was a trending, of course, there's trending a little bit more on the upside. Plus, they got the head-to-head from last year. Until further ado, they are the runner-ups. So and rightfully so. But with that being said, Buffalo gonna have something to say about that, and I like this. And while like you're saying, Baltimore, as much as they talking about Buffalo, boy, there's Cleveland and Tennessee talking about you, Baltimore. So
they're all coming for each other, and it's going to be interesting to see, especially because a lot of them play each other throughout the season as well. So
there's going to be like some elimination games, just like it'd be week 3. It's gonna be like the old school BCS bowl. It's just
Yeah.
like, oh man, number 3 beat number 7. Now it's number 7 is now going to be number 17 next
Yeah.
year.
No, this is going to be a fun season to watch these guys go head to head and everybody compete against each other. So AFC is going to be fun. Let's talk 1 and 2 though.
Yes.
Like you said, they can flip flop, but I personally have it as Tampa Bay as the runner up, and Kansas City is leading the pack in the power rankings as it stands right now. That hasn't changed. I think, and I've made this statement multiple times, and I even talked about it on the last podcast. I don't believe just running it back is going to be successful. That Tampa Bay, you have earned the right to be in the top 5 just from getting a championship alone, be in the top 2 for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
You brought everybody back. Awesome. I don't think Giovanni Bernard puts you above Kansas City. Kansas City, though, you did lose in the championship, but you went out and addressed the number 1 concern, which is your offensive line, by going to get a perennial Pro Bowl left tackle in Orlando Brown. You went to go get one of the best guards in the league in Joe Thuney. You got even more depth. There's a bunch of other guys that they signed there. And
yep.
Yeah, they got Kyle Long. Jesus Christ. Like, they have everybody. Like, this team, they fixed all of that. They restructured some deals to get guys signed up for longer periods of time. And I think Travis Kelce got a deal last offseason. And then defensively, now I will say, defensive back wise, they do. I still feel like that is a not glaring hole, but still a big enough hole that should bring some concern to any Kansas City fan. But hey, I don't think defense necessarily wins championships anymore. I know that's kind of a rough thing to say when Tampa Bay did just win the Super Bowl, but right. I think that was more of a fact of, again, Kansas City didn't have an offensive line, but now they do. I think Kansas City is just far and away the best team in the NFL right now, and they should be everybody's favorite for a Super Bowl, in my opinion. I think a lot of people want Tampa Bay to still be that team, but to me, I think Kansas City is that team this year.
I can't disagree with what you're saying or that, but I want to add to that my Tampa Bay being at number 1 is not even based on anything you're saying. It's just based on what they did last year.
Yep.
It's an honorary position until the season starts. I have to see them play. I need week 1 to change before 1 and 2 just changes. But other than that, it's only because of what happened in the Super Bowl. That's me. But right now, Kansas City, oh my God. Not only did they, readdress the issues that they had specifically and primarily with the offensive line, they brought in an entirely new offensive line.
Yeah.
They really have 2 offensive lines on their team now, and they have the depth that they need. And beyond that, we lost Sammy Watkins, and I think they're ready to go because I don't know, the way you're saying, I don't think Giovanni Bernard is going to be, Kansas City. I don't think Sammy Watkins. I don't think Sammy Watkins leaving Kansas City is putting Kansas City. They're trending down because there's a glaring hole in the wide receiver spot right now.
Not really. He was number 4 anyway. To me. I know people had him at 3. Some people said he was a number 2, but no,
right now we're arguing who's number 3 right now, and then when we do number 3, I got to think about who's 4 and 5. And while I'm saying all this, Sammy Watkins, this is why you're not even here. We're sitting there trying to still figure out the guys who are here, and they haven't missed a beat. I mean, so consistently in power rankings, Kansas City is number 1 by far, 100%, and Tampa Bay is number 2. That's probably going to end up changing on my list very soon. Like I said, after week 1, let's just see how it plays out. But this is really the only thing. It's just an honorary position based on, they beat them. They won the Super Bowl. So until further notice, kind of like the Buffalo-Baltimore thing. Until further notice, that can definitely flip-flop. But that's just what makes it so interesting for the top 5. And now I know I got Green Bay at 5 and you had Cleveland, but your top 5 is a lot more interesting than mine because Green Bay is not obviously not an AFC. So.
Oh, true. Yeah.
But along with Tampa, of course. But
that's funny.
But that's this Tampa Bay Green Bay thing. But
my top 5 is literally 4 AFC teams.
Yeah, I see that. And so
And then Tennessee's right behind them. So
but yeah, like so, and then I'm like in the Rams right behind them. So I'm just looking at these top 8 teams and like, oh my gosh. Followed by you got these Seattle's and Indianapolis's and San Francisco's that are. This is gonna be a hell of a year. That's all it really come down to. But yeah, consistently I got Kansas City at 2 right now, and I got Tampa Bay at 1, and I know you got flip flopped. So
I expected that to. I don't think that's going to change for you until we preview week 2. So
right.
And maybe not even then, depending on what happens in week 1. So we'll see.
That'd be a different. It can't be like Kansas City is 0-2, and Tampa Bay is 2-0, and I'm talking about they're moving up the charts. I'm like, well, they haven't won a game yet. But, yeah.
Which I don't think is going to be the case, but hey,
absolutely not. But just for the sake of the illustration,
I mean, I was going under the impression that they're both 2-0, but neither here nor there.
You're missing the point.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, I think that we're in pretty much agreement on just about everything. I think just because you did yours just before the Carson Wentz information is the only reason why you didn't drop him any further. But across the board, I think that we've got a really nice kind of the reason why we talk about the top 10 of the show is because that's really the Super Bowl bubble.
Yeah,
the teams that are going to be competing for it.
Yep.
And the teams that are just outside of that are going to be teams competing in the playoffs. So, really, I think we have a really nice Super Bowl bubble this year. If you're really looking at it, these 10 teams.
Oh yeah,
man. Kansas City, Tampa Bay, Buffalo, Baltimore, Cleveland, Tennessee, Green Bay, Rams, Seahawks, and Indy or San Francisco, whichever one you want.
I know you had them at 14, but I can definitely bolster this up because not that anybody knows this, but at 11, I have the Chargers now.
I have Arizona at 11 and the Chargers at 12.
That is interesting.
Yeah,
that is very interesting. So yeah.
Yeah,
it's shooken up. Yeah, I don't want to.
You guys can go look at the full.
I'm gonna say that's a rabbit hole. If we start talking, we're gonna be all the way down back in the 20s again. You know? So.
My middle is going to be a conversation for Twitter. So go ahead, check out the whole power rankings, each of our full list here on Twitter at _square pod. You can check it out there. It's probably been up for a few days by the time you guys listen to this. But let's have a discussion about it, whether it's on Twitter, on the YouTube page, wherever. Let's talk about it. Let's continue to further the conversation of the NFL. And let's get ready for some football, man. Thursday, gonna be a good day. It's gonna be a crap game, but I'm still gonna watch every single second of it.
Man, all the pregame. I hope I'm not working. I really do.
Hope I'm not
true.
Working.
But if I'm not, I'm sure you're gonna DVR or something.
No, if you're not working, definitely come over. We can watch that game.
All right, definitely. We'll see. But yes, I just can't wait. I'm just excited. So.
It's football season, everybody. This is going to be a fun season. We've got things in store, so be on the lookout. This is going to be just fun to talk about football. But again, let's have a conversation about it down below. And let's make sure that we keep it cordial as well.
Yeah.
So thank you guys again for listening, and we will catch you guys in the next one.
Have a good night.